Good afternoon. Good afternoon, friends. I'm here lying on my sofa on what is called Christmas Day. And my husband cooked early this morning. And one of the things that he had in the recipe was what we call here ackee. Ackee is like a pod that grows from a tree. And if it doesn't open up and you go ahead and eat it with it being closed up inside of the pod, it's like a fruit that's inside of a pod. Unless that pod opens up to expose the ackee, that ackee could cause serious problems when it goes into your stomach. Okay, like serious problems. And so I don't know, my husband got a hold of these ackees. I don't know if they were opened up correctly or what. But anyways, he cooked them. And being the good husband that he is, he usually tries to make sure, he enjoys cooking. So anyways, I got up this morning and I had some ackee. Was it this morning? Or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday all this started. Yeah, I think it was yesterday all of this thing started. So I had some ackee along with some other stuff, but the other stuff that I ate it earlier and I was okay, but the ackee I had decided to eat it by itself because I know that it's sort of like a fruit. And most people don't, it doesn't matter to people. They just eat it mixed in with their food. But I like to eat it separate because I just simply believe that anything that grows off a tree and has a seed in it, it's a fruit. Even though my culture doesn't treat it as a fruit, they mix it with meat, they mix it with anything. But when I go to eat, I eat it separately. Because I don't like to eat what I believe to be a fruit, even though others don't treat it that way as a fruit. I like to eat a fruit separate. So I ate this thing separate. I believe it was yesterday. And I tell you, probably about maybe an hour or 2 hours after that, my body started to give signs that something was wrong. My body was no longer at peace the way that I know it's supposed to be at peace. And I haven't not been spending quality time with the Lord in His presence for the last 3 days. Like usually I spend hours sometimes in His presence. So, and when I do that, usually, little things like this, as far as what would affect another person, wouldn't necessarily affect me. So this caught upon me because I was not in the presence of the Lord like I was supposed to be. I believe it was 3 I think it was 3 days, consecutive days. I would pray before the Lord, my regular prayers, but where I would come and sit and wait upon the presence of the Lord to descend in my environment around me. I didn't do that for 3 days. And so, and so when I go to eat this ackee, whatever poison that was in it, it was able to permeate my body. And I wasn't surprised because my body wasn't in tip-top shape as far as the presence of the Lord. Okay, for me, it's a very risky thing to go without the presence of the Lord in His fullest for days. It's for me, it's very risky. So, anyways, whatever poison that was in the ackee began to permeate my body, and so I began to throw up a lot. I was throwing up. First, I threw up the ackee. which was good because I knew it was what was giving me problems. My intestine was unable to digest it because it's poison, um, and so it began to throw up what was in it. And I began to pray in the Holy Spirit a lot, to pray in tongues. And the more I pray in tongues, is the more I vomited, because you got to get out whatever crop, whatever the cause of it is, outside of your body. You got to get it out of the temple of God. So I kept on throwing up. I drank some water and then I went to sleep. I went to sleep. And I went to sleep. I slept the night and peacefully, and I woke up today. Then I started to vomit. I went into the toilet, which was good, and then I threw up again today. But today I didn't have anything inside of me to throw up because I haven't been eating. I've decided to go on a 3 days and nights fasting, no food. That was my plan at the beginning of all this. I'm supposed to be on a fasting journey, no food. Just in prayer. So I'm still on this journey regardless of the sickness. But today, as I was finished throwing up and I had drank some water, that came up too. So I perceived that my body was telling me it wants nothing in it. It doesn't want any water. It doesn't want any food. Don't put nothing in the stomach. So I decided, okay, to obey. So I decided to leave the water alone, and not put even water in my body. Because for the most part, when I do my fasting and prayer journey, I do take some water. But there are times when I don't take water or food for days and nights as the Spirit of the Lord leads me. Okay, so on this prayer and fasting journey, I was planning to take water for the most part of it, but evidently that didn't work out that way. So I'm not complaining. So I'm not taking water, and I'm not taking food right now. So I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, it reminded me of it. And this is something that I do on a regular basis. This is a regular practice of mine, if not daily. But I haven't done it, I think, within the last 3 days. Like I mentioned before, I haven't been in the presence of the Lord for the last 3 days. I haven't been in the manifested presence of the Lord. Okay, there's a difference. The presence of the Lord is always with me, but the manifested presence is glory. I haven't sat in it for 3 days. And so I remember, I don't think I took my Holy Communion either. So I heard the Lord say, go take your Holy Communion. So I got up and I took it. So when I took the Holy Communion, I went back and I prayed for a little bit, and then I went back and lied down on my sofa. Then about, say, 15 minutes later, as I was lying on my sofa, I felt this explosion, that's the only way I could explain it. I felt like this explosion took place in my stomach, and I don't know, it was whatever it was that was in my stomach. I perceived the Holy Communion dealt with that situation, put it to death, because that explosion in my stomach was, I knew something was happening. And anyways, I'm feeling a little bit better now, so I'm expecting to get over this, whatever that was in my stomach, harassing my stomach. The Holy Communion dealt with that. The Most High God has His ways for every little situation in our lives. He's a covenant-keeping God. So I just want to testify today, the Holy Communion dealt with whatever situation that was plaguing my stomach, causing me to not be able to keep food down or to keep even water down. The Holy Communion went there in the life of Jesus Christ, manifested on the inside of that stomach and dealt with whatever it was that was messing with me. And so now, It's only an hour or two later, but yeah, I like to give my testimony early because for me that's faith at its best. So I just want to say God has His righteousness. He has His ways as to how to heal us. I'm one that for me, traditional medication. When I say traditional medication, I'm referring to pharmaceutical medications. For me, for my body, is an abomination to me. And this is for me. This is my grace. This is my area. And so, I'm not one that runs antibiotics or whatever other biotics they have. I am not one that runs to that quickly. I look to the Lord, the Spirit of the Lord, to direct me as to what He wants me to do. Because, again, people, this is a temple of God. This belongs to Him. It's not for me to do what I want to do with it and to put into it what I want to put to it. Especially to put into it what I want to put to it. I don't view my body like that. My body is for His purpose, for His use, for what is pleasing to Him. So this is a temple of God. So if it's a temple of God, He know what to do with it to bring healing back in it. He knows. He heals all diseases. Is all of it. There's none He can't heal. So this is a temple. My body from head to toe it is a temple of the Lord. So when it comes to what I put in it for healing, it has to come straight from the mouth of the Lord my God. Oh yeah, because He has His ways. He has His ways. He has His ways. Now, clearly, if you get a cut and there's a physician that could bound up your wound, I'm not against that. I'm talking about pharmaceutical drugs. I'm not talking about herbs that you could put into powder, that you could make concoction with, or herbs. Herbs is a service from man, but in its natural state, not polluted or corrupted by other things. I'm not against herbal medication in its natural forms. Okay, I'm not against that. It's when they put it into the lab and they're still saying that it's natural. There's nothing natural about pharmaceutical drugs. There's not, because it has terrible side effects. Side effects of paralysis, side effects of blindness, side effects of heart attacks. How can these be natural? How can you then say that this thing is natural? Pharmaceutical drugs are natural. I'm not for that. So I'm not with all these pharmaceutical drugs, and that's the reason why I'm not really a big fan of checking myself into the hospitals. So unless you agree, you can't walk together. So if I don't agree what these hospitals are promoting, I'm not a big fan to check myself into their facilities, because I don't agree with what they're doing for the most part now, when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs. And so if I go and check in, it's my responsibility to understand that for the most part, they are about pharmaceutical drugs. They are about putting that thing into our temple. That's what they are about. That's our responsibility to know this. And once you check yourself into their facility, they expect you to understand and know this. But I'm not in agreement with it. So I'm not one that is a hospital type of person where every time something happens, take me to the hospital, take me to the emergency room. Certainly not. There is a God in heaven that this body, my temple, belongs to Him. Now, if you're out there and you're living a life that's contrary to the perfect will of God, then you're on your own with the hospitals. That may have to be that's the only choice you have. But for me, my body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, and I treat it as such. I don't let everything pharmaceutical drugs come into it, because there's side effects that I don't want to deal with, the side effects down the road. So I just want to testify. The Holy Communion has healed me from the very top of my head to the very sole of my feet. Be blessed.